right. Hey, welcome everybody. It is 7 o'clock Sci-Fi Distilled, and it is Star Trek Day. Is it today? Is it today or is it tomorrow? It is today.
No, it's Friday, but hey.
Is it Friday?
Well,
I
Friday for
thought
the
it was
Americans,
anyway,
Thursday
close
for
enough.
the Canadians.
It's close enough. It's Star Trek week.
Or maybe it was today for the Canadians.
I don't know. Whatever. It's close enough. So we're going to bring in our esteemed panel here in a little bit. But before we do that, I think we're going to get to our news, which Mary Beth's got a little bit of news, and then our
bit of news. A little tiny bit of. I have two pieces of Star Trek news for you guys tonight. Star Trek news number one. To celebrate the 50th anniversary of animated Trek, Star Trek is releasing 5 new animated shorts. They are called, get this, very short Treks. They're described as being anything.
Can you tell there's a writer's strike?
Right. Well, I think these were done maybe before.
Because I'm teasing because of the name is so Star.
They're described as anything but canon. The first one drops on Friday, and the other 4 follow on Wednesdays, I believe. They can be found on StarTrek.com or YouTube, and they will be starring George Takei, Gates McFadden, Jonathan Frakes, Doug Jones, Armin Shimmerman, Ethan Peck, Celia Rose Gooding, Connor Trenier, Bruce Horak, and Noel Wells. Star Trek news number 2 on Friday, September 8th. The cast of Star Trek, all of it, not just one of them, all of it, invites you, yes, you, gentle viewer, to join them on the picket line. Calling it United We Trek, Star Trek actors are planning a special picketing event as, get this, counter-programming to the Star Trek Day festivities. In Los Angeles, it's from 10 to 12 at the Paramount lot. That's 5433 Melrose. And in New York City, it's 9:30 to noon at the Paramount offices at 1515 Broadway. If you go, you're advised to take public transportation, bring hats, water, sunscreen, wear comfortable shoes, and please do not wear your Star Trek clothes. When you arrive, check in with SAG or the WGA, and then you can bring a homemade sign if you want, and there'll be a group picture at the end. Okay, guys, what's going to happen now is Rizzo's going to put up a countdown.
I have one comment on that. On the Star Trek Day. That's a good thing you point that up because they're doing a big thing on the 8th, right?
Yes.
And there's Jerry O'Connell and I think Tommy I saw. They have all these people. So are they breaking the picket line to do that, basically?
I don't know. And that show would have had to have been written.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
so that's the writer's strike.
Yeah, so there's a little
weirdness
going on there. Yeah. Anyway,
that's a great question, and I don't know the answer.
Unless they were under contract and it was like they're going to get majorly sued or something if they didn't do it. I don't know. Yeah. Unless maybe they got a pass from SAG to do it. I don't know.
It's a clip show.
I have no idha what the answer is, but
you've seen this thing before. It's basically a clip show.
Yeah. No, it's the same thing they did last year, I imagine. But there's hosts hosting these things. So. Anyway, all right, yeah. So we're gonna do get the Ahsoka ticker.
And if you have not seen Ahsoka, please mute us for the next 3 minutes because there's a huge spoiler at the end of this episode.
Right. Okay. Ready?
Ready.
Let me get the. There we go. Okay, so things are picking up for Ahsoka. They are definitely. I think the action is certain. There's definitely a lot more swordplay going on in these things. We're seeing a lot more of what Sabine could do. The storyline is moving along. We have of course, the hyper spaceship ring thing, which actually turned out to be a spaceship. I thought they were going to bring another big Star Destroyer.
Yeah, and put it in, and then.
But no, the whole thing went.
Boom. The whole thing launched. The ring launched. Yeah.
Did you notice that Kim's Convenience was the only X-Wing that didn't get destroyed when that thing?
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh God, they're all dead.
All X-Wings got blown out. Except the guy from Kim's Convenience.
Oh, and also Hera brought her kid. Who brings their kid along on a mission?
Yeah, now, what's the backstory? Because the kid obviously is the same race. He's human.
The kid is, the kid belongs to Kanan.
Okay, right. Okay, but it's not a biological kid.
No, it is.
Oh, it is.
Kanan and Hera had a kid.
Okay, but he's just clearly all human.
He didn't get green.
DNA went all human. Okay. Whatever. I was just curious because I forgot that part from the other part of the show. So what else?
I enjoyed the battles with Ray Stevenson as Balin. I thought that was great. It makes me every week I see him, and every week I'm like, oh, I wish he had.
He was a great actor. His voice was so perfect. He was perfect for this role. One of the main things you had been saying about this show needed to be tighter, and when they got to that battle with Ahsoka and him. And they're both kind of just standing there with their lightsabers.
Yeah, were they like reading each other?
Do something.
Do something. Me too. Me too.
Way too long.
Also,
way too long.
Is this not the Sabine show? This is the Sabine show. This is less about Ahsoka and more about Sabine.
I will agree. It does seem that way. And of course, she makes a very interesting decision right at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
To basically. Well, she's obviously in love with Ezra, and she wants to be able to see Ezra.
She values Ezra over everything else. And what did Hu Yang tell them? Not only what did Ahsoka ask her? Are we good? Are we tight? You got my back? And Sabine's like, yep. And Hu Yang's like, stay together. Yep. And so what immediately happens? They split, and Sabine no longer has her back. They just gone.
Right.
Talk about foreshadowing. But the big surprise at the end.
What, that Sabine basically went with?
No, who Ahsoka saw at the very end of the episode.
What did she see at the end of the episode?
When she was lying in the world between worlds, she saw.
Oh, yeah, Anakin. Right, I forgot about that part. Yeah, she sees Anakin. So who they de-aged?
Yes. But he looks okay.
All right, we're out of time, so it's getting good. It's getting better.
Do we have a drink to celebrate Star Wars Day with?
Let me get rid of our ticker. And I have a drink which apparently Bruce really loved. He thought it was so good. And he thought he's gonna make these at home.
He's gonna opine on this.
So Alien Urine Symbol. I don't know. I thought it was interesting looking, so I went with it. And it's probably pretty fruity. It's probably not a bad drink actually. But there are some instructions to get it to layer, so that's why. And there was too complicated to put in one slide. So if you're interested in making this, go to the Facebook page where I posted this, and inside the text part of it, there's the instructions of how to mix each one and then layer it. So, all right, we're gonna get rid of that. We're gonna bring in our panelists. So, welcome Fez.
Hey,
welcome
nerds.
Bruce.
Hi, Willie.
Welcome Kent and welcome Phil. We got a large group. So,
hello, everyone.
I have been and always shall be your friend. Happy Star Wars Day, Mary Beth.
Happy Star Wars Day, everybody.
Wait, I thought we were talking about Lost in Space.
Yes. No.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Doctor Who.
Now, what's that terrible Canadian one that Bruce always is talking about?
Star Lost.
Star Lost anniversary. No, it's Star Trek. We've already kind of established that it's Star Trek. It is the 57th anniversary of the original series airing this week. So we're going to talk about all things Star Trek. And I'm going to run this like I do my roundtables at Trek Conderoga. So I moderate. You guys can talk in turn, and then I'll tell you how you're wrong. Okay? That's how they work. All right?
That's how it works.
Isn't
Hi,
that how married life works?
Oh, you're going to find out, my friend.
Yeah, you're in for it now.
You're going to find out, my friend.
You're in for it now.
Is Dave Blass in the audience or something?
You're right.
We wish.
You never know. You never know. He might be.
You never know. He could be lurking out there.
Yep,
Dave, if you're out there, hi.
Dave, yeah. Good thing I didn't say, boy, the visual effects and stuff were just terrible on that show.
Yeah.
So, Star Trek. Let's start with the original series, which I'm going to tell you is, of course, my favorite of all the iterations. What do you guys think? Mary Beth, give us your favorite. Is TOS your favorite?
You know, don't tell James, but it is not.
Really?
I'm a bit more of a next gen girl. You know what? Because TOS I watched with my dad, and it was clearly my dad's. He loved it. Next gen was all mine. All mine. I watched it. I watched it by myself. It was mine. So yeah.
Okay.
And it follows your theory. You know your theory, the girl that liked Voyager, and you're like, it's whichever one you see first is the one you love.
It's
I
true.
didn't see
it's
next gen
whatever.
first.
It goes with any fandom. Whichever
Yeah.
one of iteration of something you see
Whichever
first.
Doctor Who you meet first tends to be your favorite, whatever.
Although I think universally, most people agree that Baker is the best of
Tom
the
Baker.
original group.
Tom Baker
Yeah.
is the best Doctor.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
David Tennant's a hot second.
Well, I separate them with Doctor Who. Now I want to get on Doctor Who. There's new Doctor Who and then there's the original
They also-
Doctor Who, and out of the original Tom Baker, David Tennant is the best out of the new ones. That's me, and that's right. So don't argue with me.
Peter
No, all right.
Davison.
Ask somebody else about Star Trek.
So anyway, yeah, no, that's fine. Like I said, TNG is fine if that was your thing. You like the Goody Two Shoes Trek.
I do.
What's your
that's
favorite
nice.
episode
My favorite of Next Gen
of Next Gen? Yeah.
or of the original series?
No, Next Gen.
Oh God, let me think about that for a hot second.
All right, we're gonna move on to Fez. This is we gotta go.
I'll
We
get
got a
back
lot
to
to get through. Little time. Fez, Star
Well,
Trek. What do you
fly-
love?
Flying in the face of your theory, it's the original series, since Next Gen was my first show that I saw.
Well, there's always an exception to the rule. That's it. That's all you have to say. That was the end of it. That was the end of it.
yeah,
All right, moving on.
Pretty
Phil.
profound.
Phil, what's good?
I think for me, I love the original series mainly because I'm older than the show, and it's just a. I just remember the years in the wilderness when the only Star Trek was at the Walden Books bookstore to read the technical manual, but I couldn't afford the $12.95 to buy it. So I have nostalgia for that. So I think for some nostalgic reasons, original series. Do I have to pick an episode, Mike?
No, you don't know. That was no. We don't do episodes. That's fine. We'll get there. We'll get to that.
City on the Edge of Forever.
Yeah, that's just the canned answer for our TOS fans. It's like you're shunned if you don't say that that's the best episode.
I like Corbin Ivanov also. I did a whole panel on it.
That's
but,
an excellent one. That's one of my favorites. Absolutely. Obviously, well, you can't really see Baylock. He's kind of there's Baylock.
Yeah,
There he
he's
is.
back there.
So Kent.
Yes. TOS all the way. It was groundbreaking. It was socially relevant, even though 12-year-old me didn't get it, but later on I did. Yeah, definitely TOS.
I mean,
It
that's a
set the
good
standard.
That's a good point because I grew up. I'm the same age as James, so I kind of same. In fact, we didn't realize we were
Same age
watching
as me.
it on the same channel at the same time. A few states apart, but I didn't really get any of the messages. I think Let This Be Our Last Battlefield was probably the most obvious, even to a
Yes.
child.
Yes.
But the rest of them, a lot of them, just it was just
Private Little War.
yeah. There's a lot that
There's a bunch of them.
yeah. So, but as a kid, it was just a science fiction show, and it was the only thing on because you only had 4 damn channels.
Yep.
So,
Got home
Bruce.
from school.
TOS, and for a different reason from everybody else. To me, it was inclusive. Some of the other shows, I did not take a 3-hour tour. I did not, I'm not an agent of control, but I could imagine myself on the Enterprise. They had 400 people there, and hey, somebody had to have the same job as me there. It was
Had to be one
12
Canadian in that group somewhere.
Hey, besides all the actors there. But
Point. Half of them were Canadian.
Despite what people look back on, when the show was out there, they weren't all superheroes. Kirk was a young, inexperienced captain. People turned on him in court martial. Spock, had trouble with his first command. These were people who were good at their job, but they weren't top tier. It was one of 12 ships. And you could insert yourself so easily into that realm if I had only been, born 300 years from now. And that's what I loved about it. And I found the other shows, as you go down, got away from that concept. Even TNG, where practically everybody was a superhero.
Well, I've always said TNG is the goody two shoes Trek. And the reason I say that is because they always seem to do the right thing in the end. It was always kind of, it's like it wasn't like it's what I loved about DS9 with Cisco, particularly where he was making during the war, where he had to make these decisions that he knew were wrong morally or whatever, but he had to make them to win the war.
Yep.
And I loved that about his character, and that's one of the things I really like about DS9 was that they threw that realism in there. I never thought TNG was always kind of this, oh, in the end we always do the right thing because we are Starfleet kind of thing. But even in Kirk would bend the rules to try to get what he needed done. It wasn't, he never always go by the book. That was his shtick, right? So that's why TNG is actually farther down on my list. If I have to list my shows, it's TOS, and I know nobody's going to agree with this one, Enterprise, and then DS9, and then TNG. So, but that's just me, and I will defend Enterprise.
And then Voyager.
Voyager, what was that? I don't remember that show.
I stuttered.
I'm sorry. Well, that's what I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody that really likes Voyager. If you like a particular thing, that's great. No, you're wrong, but you're welcome to like it. I could tell you all the things that's wrong with that show, but
yeah, there was very little that went right.
And Mike, each show is in its own little time capsule, because you have to look at the conditions under which the shows are produced. The next gen era
of the time.
Deep Space Nine and Voyager is a totally different animal. How they produced TV in the 60s, as opposed to the end of that era with Enterprise, as opposed to what we have now, as opposed to God knows what's going to come next. At least we still have the gold key comics.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the 90s certainly were the golden era of Star Trek. I mean, they'll still talk about that because the TNG, DS9, Voyager, and then Enterprise, of course, got stuck on the end of that in the early 2000s. But Enterprise, I think, what killed it was clearly that Paramount Network was becoming its own thing. It wasn't franchised like all the or should they
syndicated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Syndicated like all the other shows were. So you had to have, and I think I've told you the story 100 times, but I had DirecTV, and DirecTV didn't carry Paramount Network at all. The only way I got to watch it was on a C-band dish where I pulled it when they fed it to the affiliates. That's how I recorded it, and that's the only way I watched it. And then Munoz never liked Star Trek, so he killed it on top of that. So I think Enterprise would have done much better had it followed the same formula as the other shows. In other words, being syndicated,
marketing wise, yeah.
Had they gotten 7 seasons, and I think, but I also believe that by the time Enterprise came around, people were burned out on Star Trek.
Yeah, absolutely.
Voyager, I think, really killed people.
Yes.
On the whole Star Trek thing. So, but I've done shows on Enterprise, so I don't want to bury, go why I think that show had so much potential.
Well, let me tack one thing onto what you said, Michael. Talking about getting Enterprise off of your C-band satellite dish, there is nostalgia to how we got the show. In the 70s, it was a big deal because they took Star Trek off the air, and you had to wire your little TV with the loop UHF antenna to get the show. I think, I was living in Arizona then, so for me to get the show from Tempe instead of Phoenix or wherever it was. And there's just something about that, trying to get the show, because you couldn't get it because of whatever, the network wasn't carrying it, or Dish TV, or Direct TV, or whatever. And I don't know, there's nostalgia to that. And
absolutely. And never mind streaming.
Well, yeah, I mean, I used to watch it on a little 12-inch black and white television with rabbit ears, and I was lucky living in Southern Connecticut. I was close enough to New York City that we picked up most of the major, and then Channel 11, where it was aired mostly, wasn't independent.
I recorded them onto cassette tapes and listened to the cassette tapes.
Here's a bit of a weird one, but that's close to the cassette tapes. Is in Montreal, it was always on Sundays at 10 o'clock in the morning. And at the cottage, we had no TV. So we actually had a radio that picked up TV signals. So I saw a lot of the episodes just by listening to them. Theater of the mind. It was kind of a cool way to absorb that. I'd seen all the episodes. I sort of knew what was going on, visually, but it was still the theater of the mind. And it was an interesting way to watch it.
Yep.
Sometimes it's the struggle that binds us together.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I remember when the Buck Rogers series came out in the late 70s, and I had seen the film in the theater, and I wanted to watch the show, but of course we only had the one color television, and nobody else wanted to watch that. So again, back to the 12-inch black and white television in my room, trying to get the rabbit ear and watching it with complete snow.
Mm.
And you watched this. Today you'd be like, there's no way I'm sitting here watching this crap. It's like you can't even barely make out what's going on. But yet you sat there and watched the snowy picture, holding the one antenna because that somehow made it a little better. And yeah, you're right. It's true. There's a certain nostalgia. I don't want to go back to that, Phil, ever. Ever.
No, but you sit in the comm suite at some Star Trek convention and you trade war stories, and suddenly it's the Band of Brothers. UHF, satellite dish, TV, radio, audio only, cassette tape.
Yeah.
There's
a certain nostalgia to that old tech. You're right. I mean, we were talking about Viewmasters, and that those aren't. I mean, there's companies that'll make them for you out of your own photos if you have a 3D camera, which we're actually working on for the tour. But nobody, kids don't have that. Remember, that was like the biggest thing. You got a new Viewmaster reel. It's like 6-7 pictures. Oh wow, and you're done. That's it. So It's interesting what we are entertained with compared to what we have today.
Yeah,
you don't know what we're talking about.
You guys are not alone in this. Both Chris LaRoche and Martin Ben said they use cassette tapes to tape the show. Yep. And Bill Sotek says he has VHS tapes from Rabbit Ears days somewhere. Yep. And Willie saying, 11-inch black and white TV. You guys are not alone. I watched it on black and white. Yeah, everyone kind of watched it. Because it was on weird hours, or at least it was when I was growing up in the 70s. It was on really
Channel 11. You got off.
Channel 11 is right 5 o'clock. I think it used to be on.
Yeah,
I want to say it was after school. They used to run like Lost in Space and then Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
it's like Bruce said, it was theater of the mind. I had the landing party set of models, the tricorder, the phaser, and the communicator. And when I wasn't listening to the cassettes or watching it on Channel 11. I'm running around in the yard exploring stuff. I don't know how many sets of those that I broke and wore out and had to buy the model again and build them again. My parents finally stopped buying them for me. It was like 6 or 7 deep, and they're like, "We're not buying you this kit anymore. You keep breaking them."
It's interesting because as a kid, I watched Star Trek, but I never got played it with friends. It's just
I wanted to be Scotty.
It wasn't when this little movie hit in 1977. That's when my mind was blown and really became a science fiction fan. And my life, pretty much from 77 to mid 80s, I was until about Wrath of Khan. Well, Wrath of Khan was
82.
82.
Yeah.
So till about then, and then when that came out, I started getting back into Star Trek.
I wanted to be Scotty. That's why I went to college for engineering. I mean, I wanted to be the guy who saves the ship.
How's that working for you?
Not so good. I'm an IT engineer now. So
come on. Kent, I became an engineer and then I joined the military. So come on.
There you go.
You got to commit all the way.
Yeah.
And you were in intelligence, right, Bruce?
No, I was an engineer. I was a mechanical engineer.
Somebody thought you said you were
no, I was intelligent.
We're not intelligent. That's what I said. Well, I was going to say it's an oxymoron. It's an oxymoron, military.
Oh, you boomers.
Anyway.
I'm just rerunning in my head those AMT landing party model kits that were the wrong size. They were supposed to. You mean they couldn't splurge and make those kits to be the normal size phaser and tricorder? That was a crime against humanity.
But Phil,
like I said, I wore out 7 of them.
But that goes across the board for any toy based on any TV show or movie. The toys never were close to matching what you saw until Star Wars, and they actually had a Han Solo pistol, and it actually at least looked like the Han Solo pistol. Yeah. It was before that you had these. You're right, these oversized, weird.
Hold on there, Rizzo. The Spock helmet was pretty accurate.
It's only accurate now because of lower decks.
That's my must-have item.
Yes. Well, now everybody wants those. Of course, what's even the other one was the knockoff copy of the Star Trek dolls. The
Mego.
They had the ones that were like Grok instead of Spock. So those are actually worth more than the Mego ones.
Yep.
Nowhere
near as many of them.
So we could talk about favorite episodes.
Yeah.
if you want to go maybe to at least for TOS, boy, I don't know. TOS is a tough one.
Well,
There's a lot of
okay,
good
well, almost each of us picked a different series. Why don't we?
No, the majority was TOS.
Most of you picked TOS.
Well, yeah. All right.
I'm the only one. I'm the outlier.
I think she's Mary Beth's the only one that picked.
I'm the outlier, but I have favorite TOS.
I have favorite episodes of all from all.
Oh yeah, except
I have a favorite episode. It's what I call that. What I feel is one of their worst episodes. Is my favorite episode.
Let me
Oh,
guess.
not the-
Is it
not
the
Threshold.
lizards?
Way to eat.
No, see, I diverge from that. That one's bad. It's the one where they go
Threshold.
back in time, the two-parter one with Ed Begley.
Year of Hell.
Oh, that's Future's End.
Oh.
Year of Hell was actually a good two-parter.
Yeah.
That was actually one of the brighter spots.
Year of Hell was awesome because it had Red Foreman in it. That's why.
Yes, it did.
Yes.
Well, anytime you see,
Anytime you got
of course, I know it was way before the '70s show, but when you watch it now, you just want to.
yeah,
Actually,
I
I'm gonna break
I
my
want to hear
head
him
off.
call somebody a dumbass.
yeah.
Actually, it was contemporaneous.
Was it? What is
Yep.
his name? Somebody remind me his name. I can see his face.
Clarence Boddicker. No, that's from RoboCop.
All right, never.
His
Let's-
name,
what is
Kurtwood
the
Smith.
question?
Kurtwood Smith,
Well,
and he
somebody-
was the
Kurtwood
president in
Smith,
Star
Somebody
Trek 6.
online
He
knows
was
it.
in RoboCop, right?
Yeah,
Kurtwood Smith.
and he was the president in Star Trek 6.
That's right.
Yes.
He was. All right. So what's the question? We going around to say our favorite episode?
Yeah, favorite episodes. Okay, Mary Beth, you could whatever. If you want to do TOS, let's just do TOS. We got.
Well,
time.
TOS like Mirror Mirror. Just because I loved her, I got to do
No, that's a
stuff.
good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's
Yeah.
a good one. And then
Go
my
to-
for TNG it'd probably be something along the lines of Best of Both Worlds. I like
Yeah, I mean with TNG, that's almost a given that Best of Both Worlds is going to be.
TNG. Sorry, I don't know what I just said, but yeah, TNG Best of Both Worlds.
Fez.
Enterprise incident for the original series, and
Good
if
one.
I were to do the Next Generation Sins of the Father.
Okay.
Good call.
Phil.
For TOS, City, Cormorant Maneuver, stuff like that. But I have to put a shout out to Next Gen's episode Home, because it's an episode they didn't want to make or they had to push to make, and it was absolutely turned Star Trek, I think, on its head to see Picard crying in the wine, in the grapevines with his brother in the mud. I think that was a huge moment for the show, because the old shows were like, okay, episode adventure over, hit the magic reset button, everything's great,
We're all happy.
next week.
Laughing
And this
bridge.
was something where it stuck with him, and I like that. And I think that was a great sign of things to come.
They kind of did something
And the
similar.
musical, and Strange New Worlds, the musical, the new best episode.
Oh no.
You just set Rizzo off.
I know, I did that on purpose.
There's a vein right here. That
I love Rizzo. I did that on purpose.
No.
the horror.
For Strange New Worlds, obviously, we all agree the best episode is obviously the crossover episode.
Oh yeah.
No one's
Yeah,
gonna
oh, yeah.
dispute
Those old
that.
scientists. Followed actually very closely, in my opinion, by the last episode, season 1. I don't know the name of it.
The Quality of Mercy.
Quality of Mercy.
Yeah, that was to me one of their. I still think that's their strongest episode. As much as I love these old scientists as a fun, great episode, I still
but-
think that one was better as far as actually relating to the
I
show.
A
and
lot
the
of season
characters.
2. I like
I
the
like-
MASH episode.
I like the MASH episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one too. I mean,
Incoming
but-
transport is the new choppers.
Is the new
yeah, I
Choppers,
still
yeah.
think that other one, the basically the Balance of Terror remake was done. I had some.
Oh,
issues
that
with
was a
it,
very
but
clever
overall,
one. Yeah.
That was a really. I think it was, as far as that series goes, that was their strongest episode, in my opinion. It actually hit home and addressed Pike's knowledge of his fate.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And that
Yeah.
he finally came to realize that you can't change this. This is going to happen, and you're gonna have to deal with it. So, I just thought it was, and I just liked the mix up from the original series, how they kind of pulled that together. So,
No, not the Ren
but-
Fair episode. No, Mark.
so we're on Kent for favorite episode.
All right. TOS is Doomsday Machine. I think watching Decker come apart as
yeah. William
as
Wyndham.
Captain
TOS is a
Creed.
tough one
He
to
should
pick
have
up
got an
best.
Emmy for that performance.
There's so
He
many
made-
good
absolutely.
ones. There's so many good ones like that in TOS.
But I mean, it's the Kane Mutiny. It's Captain Queeg with the little balls. He's got the
It really is.
cassette,
It's
the
brilliant.
data tapes doing the
Which
thing.
is a great movie if nobody's ever seen that.
That was
Oh my
great.
god,
Yeah.
it's great.
You and the
Um,
Space
for-
Bugle.
For TNG, I'm going to say Inner Light. The idea that you can live an entire life in 30 seconds
And be affected by it.
and be affected by
And
it.
then remember it when you,
Yeah, and then and they did something similar, but from the opposite direction on DS9 when
O'Brien
was in
was
prison.
sentenced, right? He was in prison.
Hard
I thought that
time.
was a great way to flip that. What if you could use that as a punishment? And it
I
certainly
think that would drive you insane, though. That always bothered me about that DS9 episode. That like you're literally lived like 10 years in this jail, and then all of a sudden you're not there anymore, and it never really happened. And I think that would break the human mind.
Wouldn't Inner Light break you that way too?
Potentially, but it wasn't. He wasn't being tortured living he was living a positive life. You know.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
I think that aspect of it, the fact that someday you can play memories into somebody's head.
From the fact that when you dream, dreams happen in this like blink of an eye in your brain,
and you're experiencing them real time or long.
But to you it seems longer, but it actually happens in a matter of seconds. Yeah. So it's kind of a very similar concept. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's just Inner Light is always.
It's a very popular episode. I think it's one of the more boring ones, but that's just me. Bruce.
It really depends to me if you're talking about remastered or not, because I really enjoyed some of the remastered TOS, and to me it brought up the Ultimate Computer up into that. That's a really cool episode. Just seeing the 4 Constitution class come in and
get their
have the attack. So to me, Ultimate Computer. Yeah. I like the standard ones. I like City. Doomsday Machine, I think is great. So the one though that around that time that we haven't mentioned is the animated series. And to me, Yesteryear and Beyond the Farthest Star were incredible.
Yep.
And if you come off with if you push yourself back and come off of like Turnabout Intruder and the end of the original series, and then you go to Beyond the Farthest Star, where they're actually meeting something weird and strange and just all out of proportion to what they could have done with the effects budget back then. To me, it blew my mind when I saw that. It's like,
well, you guys know that although a lot of those were written by TOS original writers,
alumni,
Montana and David Gerald, and
Sam Peoples for Farther Beyond the Star.
Yeah. So that's why they were actually.
I think it would be awesome if they did it, the original series era animated series, and did it in anime style with the type of writing you're talking about, Bruce. Beyond the Farthest Star, and that stuff. I think that would be just like an awesome thing to see, and really get out there, really go beyond what they do.
Well, I always said it would be interesting to take the voice track from the animated series, not the horrible music. Take the voice track and recreate all the animation with more modern, better animation, and then relay in with the correct music, with the TOS music, and I think those would be epic.
You could never get the stakeholders to agree to
No, you never.
It's a great idea.
It's a great. I don't ever expect it to happen, but
yeah, that's a fantastic idea.
I think for TOS, it's hard, boy. I do love Carbonite Maneuver. It's certainly one of my favorites. Balance of Terror is way up there, just because I like the bottle episodes. I like when Kirk's on the ship doing ship things and clever ship stuff. So that's why I like, and that's what I liked as a kid. Those are the ones I like. Yeah, certainly the Doomsday Machine is up there too. Again, Enterprise. If you look at the ones I do like the most, you'll see a common theme. They're always taking place on the ship.
Yeah.
I
would agree.
Going back to the Doomsday Machine, did you see the remastered Constellation when they actually show it to begin with? I don't know, but that affected me. Seeing
how badly she
and Mike Okuda he has gotten some flack over the years for the redo. Somebody I'm hearing a feedback. I don't know whose stuff it is, but somebody's got it. Anyway, but I think at least the one thing, at least with the remastered stuff, is if you don't want to watch it, you have the Blu-ray, you just hit the button, and you can flip over to the original effects. So,
did we
all right.
everybody on this? Is everyone answered?
Yeah, I was the last one.
All right,
So,
Martin. Just over in the chat, Martin likes Shore Leave. David Alexander likes Balance of Terror. Chris LaRoche likes Deep Space Nine. He likes the baseball episode.
That's
Martin likes Miri. Got mentioned in there. So yeah. All right.
What about was it Paradise Syndrome, the one where Kirk ends up an Indian and they have to divert the
I
asteroid?
think that was the one where Spock got.
I am Kirok.
This is this side of Paradise, right?
This side of Paradise. That's what it was, not Paradise Syndrome. Sorry.
Paradise Syndrome was the one with the
No,
Indian god.
Yeah. So this side of Paradise. What?
I don't know.
Bruce?
This side of Paradise is the one with the spores. Paradise Syndrome is the one with the Kirok.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I thought I was right.
You know, they
mistaken.
really do that a lot in TOS. They have a lot of names that are close. Like
yesterday.
there's yesterday's
like
Enterprise or yesterday's. Yeah, it's like
tomorrow's yesterday. Return to tomorrow.
Return to
all our yesterdays.
Yeah, they got it.
So that one, another bottle episode. Virtually, if you ignore the planet side stuff with Kirk, it's a fascinating look at the ship.
Without Kirk.
Crippling itself.
It's
without Kirk, but crippling itself trying to accomplish a mission that is technically a violation of the Prime Directive.
By the same token, I always go to Tholian Web, which is another third season episode.
Yeah,
yep,
see, there's so many good ones. There's Trouble with Tribbles, nobody even mentioned. It's humorous, but it's a great episode.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
So there's just too many in TOS, let's just face it.
All of them. Except Turnabout Intruder.
All of them except Way to Eden.
Yeah, there were some bad ones. There's no question. And this is what I've always said about, that's why I say when you only get 10 episodes, you can't muck about with musicals.
Or Ren
There
Fair.
we go.
Or Renaissance Fair.
Hey, just a quick aside with you're talking about the Renaissance Fair episode of Strange New Worlds. Did you see who the book was written by? The original book that they're reading from.
Oh, yeah, there was something about that. Remind me.
That's basically Sisko's character from when he went back.
That's right.
Yes. Penny Russell.
Yes. That's absolutely right.
Well, and
little Easter
Bruce,
egg.
that brings in the idea that the people who are making Star Trek now, let's say from the season 3 of Picard onward, the fact that they are Star Trek fans and not just posers thinking they know what's best for the franchise goes a long way for good Star Trek, in my opinion. And I think, cycling back to Strange New Worlds for a second, I think the best is yet to come on Strange New Worlds. And when it's all over and done with, we will all agree the musical episode was the best. And we will meet here again. And
I hope the best is yet to come, but
if that's the high point, we're in trouble.
Okay, Phil, you're gone. We're going to eject Phil now. Eject Phil. He's in the airlock. We're spacing Phil.
No, we're not spacing Phil.
suddenly Battlestar Galactica.
Fire him out of the launch tube. He's gone.
I know the fandom is very divided on that whole episode, and I have this theory that Kurt's been secretly trying to just kill the franchise because he hates it or something. I don't know. It just seems like one thing after another they do to muck it up. Here's it really kind of, my theory makes sense, because when you got the season 3 of Picard, look what they did. They brought in Metalis, they brought back the Okudas, they brought back Drexler, they brought back all the people that made Star Trek great back in the 90s. Well, not necessarily Terry Metalis, but a Star Trek fan.
Terry started to make it earlier than you think.
He started in
went back to the well of what made the show great, and it was great. You know what I'm saying? It was like, it was not this, what the hell's going on? Why is everybody singing? It just.
Well,
why does the captain keep crying?
I saw a good
discovery. Sorry.
I saw a good article today at lunch that they were saying, when you've only got 10 episodes, you've got to be careful about having too many kitschy experimental episodes, And
I think Rizzo might have said that.
Literally been saying that.
But this was written down, so it's more important.
Oh, okay, so it has more weight for you. I see. And Bruce goes in the airlock.
Welcome to the airlock, Bruce. Take a seat.
There's only one seat in the airlock, so if you
somebody else get on my lap.
Is there any charcuterie in here? Is there any
Remember that
charcuterie?
TNG episode? Tasha was in the penalty box with Q.
Yep.
That was from
season
that
one.
That was season. Yeah, that was the very first episode. So
I think what's neat is there's 6 of us here. There's a bunch of people in the peanut gallery commenting, and I think we can all agree that every time you mention an episode that you think is the greatest episode, like, yeah, everyone who sits here and says that's a really great episode as well.
Yeah.
You know, when you're bringing up the pilot to Deep Space Nine, and you're bringing up Miri, you know, or you're bringing up all these different things, you know, and it's just amazing that there are more hits than misses over the life of the franchise.
That's a good point too, Phil, because I think, you know, we didn't really talk about DS9 much because that is one of my favorite series because of a lot of reasons. But I think I always felt Sisko was the most real commander, eventually became captain, of all of them. I thought he was the most realistic. I thought he was the most human of them all.
Captain Liam Shaw.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shaw's great. Don't get me wrong. I love Shaw. Don't get me
Shaw.
wrong. I am a huge Shaw fan.
This much of Sisko.
No. Yeah, I mean Sisko though. Like I said, I've said his decision making during the Dominion War showed that this is what as real as it could be, where he had to make these horrible decisions that he didn't want to do. And
I mean, the epitome of that is in the Pale Moonlight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
but the only thing with DS9 was they really didn't know what to do with the setup until they brought in the war. They really seemed to be struggling with that whole concept until.
But every iteration of Star Trek has the same problem.
Yeah,
they find their
struggle. They can't. They take TNG didn't get decent until the 3rd season.
Yeah, but Voyager took 7 seasons.
So Voyager never got there.
Yeah, Voyager failed miserably.
If you want to go off on Voyager, I could go off on Voyager and tell you why it's terrible.
Janeway made some hard decisions.
She made some horrible decisions. The very first episode was her big giant mistake because she stranded her entire crew 1,000 freaking years or 100 years flight back home. Because
the problem with Voyager is they changed the premise halfway through the pilot. We're trapped on an island with our enemies. It's like, you know, the Americans and the communists stuck on an island together, have to work together to survive. And guess what? Everyone's an American by the end of the pilot. It's like there's no conflict now.
Yeah.
Well, it's the problem was and I called it before we even saw the first episode, was when they basically said, here's the concept that they get sent on the other side of the Gamma Quadrant, wherever the hell they are. Delta Quadrant, I guess it was, right? Delta Quadrant. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I said it's Gilligan's Island in space. Yep. They're going to be the whole series is going to be, we almost got back. Oh, Gilligan tripped over the warp core. We can't get back.
It's a quest show, and if you solve the quest, the show goes away.
Right.
And quest shows very rarely work. I mean, Fugitive might be about the only one that I can think of.
Yeah. So, but I mean, aside from the fact that the premise was not great, then it just, some of the episodes, as we know, were just bad.
Dreck.
Hey, we have
they managed to create moments of brilliance in Voyager, though. I think there were moments where things were wonderful in Voyager.
Well, the rating spiked when they brought in 7 and 9.
36 of D.
So that was when they got rid of Cass, who nobody liked. Now they should have got rid of Neelix. Nobody likes.
Yeah,
I like Neelix.
They should have got rid of him.
They should have killed Kim to show how serious the situation was.
The poor guy should have at least made lieutenant by the end of the damn 7 seasons,
or gotten laid. Something.
Kent, Harry did die.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even the original Harry that finished the show. It was like a secondary. It was like a Rick and Morty stunt that they pulled with Harry.
Yes, before Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
This show was a mess.
He needed to be splattered all over a bulkhead to explain how serious the alien menace was.
But I agree with you, Rizzo, when you're talking about the Enterprise.
You're right this down. Bruce agreed with me.
That it was part of Enterprise's problem was trying to swing that pendulum back from where they ended up with Voyager and just trying to recapture things and do new things and stuff when the mold was so much in the Voyager side of things.
I mean, that's what they were trying to get back to the TOS, exploring that kind of everything is new with Enterprise because they hadn't been to these worlds yet. All right. So they were trying to get back to that. And I think they had the 2 seasons and then they did the Xindi War arc, which wasn't very good, I'll admit, although there were some great episodes in that season. And then season 4 hit, which was really good. Mm-hmm. And of course, my favorite out of all that is the Mirror Darkly episodes, which aren't technically the you know, they're the Mirror Universe ones. People, they're not even about that. But I just love the fact that they pulled in the TOS story of the Defiant, you know, and stuff like that. But again, look who was working, who was very strong with that was Mike and Denise and Doug.
And Doug had
a lot to do with how that show looked and
how it looked. I mean, admittedly, they weren't writing the scripts. But
no, they were not writing the scripts.
They had a lot to do.
The only ship that was ever on Star Trek where they could point to something on the bridge in engineering, and Mike, Denise, or Doug could tell you what it does, like why it's there.
Yep.
All the other ones are just a lot of blinky lights.
But I like the
and not only that, had a plan to evolve it.
And it planned to evolve it, right? And it did actually. If you watch from season 1, 2, 3, and 4, the bridge that got more blinky lights next to the monitors and stuff. So they got more and more. So,
well, and the refit is canon. It showed up in Picard 3. So
yep.
I got a question. I know, Mike, you've got a bit of a script here, but what characters do people like that are sort of outside of the main ones?
Well, I already said I love Sisko. Of course, I'm a huge Kirk fan, as everybody probably should be. I mean, he's the man.
He is the man.
He's the man.
Scotty.
I love Sisko, and I love Scotty. You know, engineers are always my favorites too. So, Riker, of course, is a great. I mean, there's a lot of good ones, except in Voyager. You know, we didn't talk about the elephant in the room, and I think Chris LaRoche mentioned it. Nobody's talking about Discovery.
There,
we talk about every single other iteration of Star Trek. Except
I mentioned that the captain seems to always be crying.
Well, she's crying. It's not an episode till Michael Burnham cries. Then
well, I kind of like the fact that they used the McCrory design for the ship of Discovery. I was kind of thought that was a really great thing. And I don't know. I honestly haven't seen all of Discovery yet because I feel like I need to put it on the shelf. I don't feel like it's done. It's like you know, drinking your soup and it's not ready yet.
Did we break Bruce?
I didn't do it. I didn't put him in. No, I did not hit the eject button.
He did. No, he'll be back. He'll reconnect and be back.
He's in the what is it? The mycelial conduit or whatever it is.
He's in the mycelial network.
He's in the Nexus.
There's a fungus among us. Is that what you're saying?
Just a tiny aside. Rizzo, I know you think Burnham always looks like she's going to cry. Carefully look at Jack Quaid's face in every single episode of The Boys. He seriously looked like he's about to break down and bawl his eyes out.
It's a little different show.
Single episode.
Well, you think it's
the same concept, though. He has that same look about him.
But it's not even looking like she's about to cry. She literally cries in every episode.
That's okay. That's human.
Too much talking about their feelings.
We're still human. That's true. Remember that Silent Life?
Way too much talking about feelings. I mean, they're literally the universe is going to explode.
And no matter how far we go into space, we're still going to bring our problems with us. So, unfortunately, that's what we're going to get.
Well, have we tried reasoning that goes back. Bruce, that goes back to what we said about the original series at the beginning of the show, because, you know, the actual ensemble together is stronger than each individual by themselves, and that's what Trek original series did. I don't know if I see that as much in the streamers. Maybe I see that. I think I see that in Strange New Worlds. I haven't seen it yet in Discovery. And but it's the ensemble, and I guess it happened later in Voyager for me. I'm not so down on Voyager like the rest of you guys are. I think it's because of the holographic Doctor. He sort of took over the show the way Dr. Smith took over the show in Lost in Space.
That redeems him a lot.
Well, to me, that's funny you say that, because I think he was the highlight character of Voyager.
Yes,
was the Doctor. He was the most interesting of all of them, and he had the most to evolve because he started out as just a program, and then
because he was the data character.
He was the data
And
character.
then 7 of 9's arc parallels his, because she has to become human. So you take aside the fact, the cheesecake factor, that she's in a cat suit, and her past history, when she was married to the congressman and everything like that. The actual person of 7 of 9 is fascinating, that she was able to reclaim her humanity, and it played out really well, even in the turkey seasons of Picard 1 and 2. I thought they did that character justice, and I really would have liked to have seen a 7 of 9. I would like to have seen the Lara Croft 7 of 9 we saw in season 1 of Picard, all on her own, running around and
I think I have a feeling you're going to see more of her, because I think they're probably going to make Legacy.
It's looking good.
I think it's probably going to happen, because that's how we got.
I think she's waiting in the captain's chair.
They had no intention of making Strange New Worlds until the fans said, "Look, that's the best thing that's ever come out of Discovery. You better keep going with that."
Yeah.
Because really, season 2 of Discovery was the best season of the whole series by far.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it like the first season wasn't bad if you get past the whole retconning of Klingons and all that stuff, but the second season was good. But then the third and fourth season just spiraled down horribly, and it was so bad.
How can you take someone from 1,000 years in the past, bring them to the present, and make them relevant in 6 months?
You know where they missed the boat with the third season. I get it. They got them out of the TOS era or time, so that they could do whatever they want without being restricted by canon, which they didn't seem to give a crap about anyway. But what they think is, instead of having another world-ending thing that they had to, once they figured out what happened with the burn, which was the stupidest answer of all, they could have come up with something better than a petulant child. What they should have done in the next season was, we're going to go and rebuild the Federation. So we're going to do that Strange New World thing and go back to these planets that hadn't been visited for 100 years or whatever because of the burn, and then reintroduce yourself to them and get them back and rebuild Federation. That would have been a great show to me.
Oh, you wanted to actually see all that happen.
Yeah. That would have been a good season.
It was implied that was actually what was happening.
But instead, we had another world-ending event that they had to go save themselves. But yeah, you're right. The people that had 1,000 years more advanced technology were clearly not suited. We had to go for the old people, from the ancient times. Imagine bringing somebody 1,000 years in the future to now and have them try to.
They just don't have any cultural references. They haven't grown up with computers or TV or anything like it.
Yeah. So anyway, but
Bruce, the cultural references in all of Trek make me crazy. They're enamored with 20th century media. They're doing on Voyager. They're doing Buck Rogers serials. Or all this stuff. Everything. They're cosplaying film noir detective stories.
Oh, they're on. And they do that on the
music. There is no current music or fiction. It's always everything from our century.
Well, that's what I liked about Sitting on the Edge of Forever. He actually makes a cultural reference from like the 21st century about the poem saying, I can help or something.
Let me help.
Let me help. There we go. As being the most important line. So but I mean, part of Trek, and we've got to admit it, part of the thing about Trek is
Hi, Mrs. Fez.
The thing about Trek was the fact that
they said hi, Mrs. Fez.
But the thing about Trek was, the triumph of the 20th century North American Western world way of life. I mean, that was part of the appeal, I think.
Yeah.
Look, we come out of the you know, we come out of the Cold War and we win, and yeah, we've got a token Russian, but everything's good.
But you know what? It's not just Star Trek that does that. All science fiction shows that are based on Earth, in other words, our Earth,
Oh, the
but
Orville
for the
did it.
future,
Babylon 5.
all reach back to the 20th and 21st century.
Because
Always.
how can you imagine music and art and books and media?
Buck Rogers did it.
Buck
From the
Rogers,
future.
I was going to say, it's a good
Okay.
point, Bruce. Buck Rogers did do it.
Poorly.
Well, the whole show was just really cheesy. But I still love it. I don't care. It had
I'm
had
right there
Aaron
with you. I
Gray
love
in
Buck
it,
Rogers. It had Aaron Gray,
I
and
still
those
love
fighters
Aaron
were
Gray,
cool,
so, yeah.
and the Draconians were bad guys. I get it. But it's hard to imagine, and it's harder to portray something that alien.
Well, they would have to be even more creative. To
Yeah, but they
create
can't be.
something.
It's Hollywood.
That's what I'm saying. It's just easier to pull from existing
That's
culture. I get it.
That's
No, I understand why
absolutely.
they do it, but it is a common theme throughout.
And it always rubs me the wrong way. I mean, I sort of like excuse it, and it even, believe it or not, that's the one thing I dislike about the musical episode of Strange New Worlds is they go into this reality based on the song, the musical Anything Goes, and they move on, and then all the music they play is basically Andrew Lloyd Webber. So she should have played something from Cats.
well. Don't forget the
to
K-pop.
bring them in. And that
K-pop.
as a former music teacher, that made me crazy.
Thank
But
God they didn't do more K-pop. That would have been just awful.
but it should have been, everything should have sounded like a 1930s, 1940s musical. And anyway, that's a whole nother show.
That's a whole
which
show
I'm
all
happy
by
to
itself.
discuss at great length with anybody who wants to sit down
The
with me.
suspension of disbelief was strong in that one.
Yes.
Very
Needed to be.
strong.
I walked through that door totally.
Talking about this, I don't want to talk about that episode anymore.
Yeah, let's talk
Somebody
about
did
the next
mention we didn't mention Prodigy. I don't know. Is there a lot to mention? It's a cartoon. It's really designed for kids. I know adults like it, but it's a kid show.
Not particularly, Riz. I watched most of it. I really didn't get anything.
Thank you, Fez, because that's how I felt about it. I don't get it. I just was not into it. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
I thought it was okay. I didn't see
Yeah.
anything wrong with
It's
it.
fine.
but-
Meh.
It's
Now,
nice
what-
little-
so when they
it's
canceled
nice
it, I
little
went,
addition to Janeway. You know, we all want to see Janeway, so
I don't.
Now,
No
what
desire.
we
I don't
can
care.
talk
Good for
about
Janeway.
is a better animated show called
Lower
Lower
Decks.
Decks.
Lower Decks. Now we haven't.
Lower
We
Decks.
did Lower Decks a couple weeks ago. We all love Lower Decks. Can we agree on that?
we
Yes.
I
love
think we all
Lower
can
Decks.
agree on Lower Decks. Lower Decks is
Lower
the show
Decks
made for- and you know what? I think again,
with Easter eggs.
who's one of the supervisors, or at least one of the people guiding the writers on that show,
Dayton Ward.
is Dayton Ward,
Ward.
who is a huge Star Trek fan, who is a huge Star Trek novel. I mean, how many novels has he written? I can't even. I don't even
All
know.
of them.
Tons.
Probably 50 or more.
Yeah, tons
He's
from
doing
all across all the series. I believe he's done.
Mhm.
Voyage,
Yep.
he's even done Discovery and stuff like that. So I mean, he's the one telling the writers that do this or that, and to make it stay within canon. But it's just it's funny as hell. Like I said,
And Dayton gets that it needs to be funny too.
yeah, it
He's
needs to
very
be funny. But like I said, I think the funniest line still for me was Wolf 359 was an inside job.
Inside job.
I mean, it was.
I
just-
want to
that
see
was
Mike
fun.
McMahon and Terry Matalas work, collaborate on something, because those are two guys who know Trek inside out and backwards.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the storylines of
No, it's
Lower
the
Decks,
Easter
it's
eggs.
all the
We
one-liners
watch it
and
for all the
the
little
stuff they stick in there that you can't even
but
keep
it's-
up with.
But the
But the storylines actually work for the format. I mean, it's as an animated
I mean, the
program,
whole second
it's
contact
fine.
thing. It's
But the-
hysterical that it's a second contact and it's this California class is some kind of like looked down upon second. It's like the
class.
tenders in the Navy. It's just like the thing that we need to have around, but it's not the big.
Nobody
battle.
wants to be
California
crewing on
class
them.
/ son of Oberth.
what?
Oberth. The
The
Oberth.
Oberth class.
The Grissom.
The-
The Grissom.
Grissom from Star Trek 3.
Or the Pegasus from
Night Terrors. No.
the
Yeah.
Pegasus
Hmm.
from season 7. Riker's first ship that he was on
Hmm.
with the cloaking device.
Oh yeah.
No, that was a Nebula
The
class.
one that was stuck in
Oh,
a
no,
in a
that was an Oberth class.
That was an Oberth?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. I thought that was a nebula.
I thought it was Nebula.
Are you really questioning me?
Hey,
Of all
we've
people,
been wrong.
Yes, we are.
He's over at the
Wow,
top.
we should have a whole show. Stump
Look it
Fez.
up. The Pegasus.
Stump the Fez.
Stump the Fez. That could be a whole thing.
The thing I love about Lower Decks is back in an era known to some as the 1970s, a young Captain Phil had the Star Trek blueprint spread out on his bedspread after he got them for his birthday, looked at the blueprints, looked at the bottom deck, the quote-unquote lower deck, I think it was deck 24, and said to himself, I wonder what type of stories they could tell about that. And here it is, my adolescent dream, which doesn't really work as well for adolescent dreams, I might say, has come true in the 21st century, and they have rocked it. They really have taken it way 110%. They've gone to 11.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the equivalent of finding the story of the janitor who cleans up the Supreme Court offices at night.
Yes.
I mean, he's just a guy, and his job is completely mundane, but he's in the halls of greatness.
Yeah.
Martin saying there was a Lower Decks in teacher. There was an episode where it was all about the lower ensigns, right? I believe.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Yes, it was yes.
It was called Lower Decks, I think.
It was called Lower Decks,
It
and they
was.
ended up
Oh,
playing.
Lower Deck. Yeah. So maybe that's where they got the concept for the cartoon.
Oh, most definitely, it's the same. I mean, the Ensign, what's his name? The Bajoran girl and
Ensign Cito Jaxa, who you first saw in the first duty.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
I only have one problem with Lower Decks, and its name is Peanut Hamper.
Yeah, we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago. You know, I literally just watched the entire 3 seasons again.
Psychopath.
Well, she has 2
She's a
episodes
psychopath.
of Peanut Hamper because she returns in season 3. I thought that was actually a pretty good episode because you thought they were going to do the typical Star Trek thing where she turns around and realizes her mistake and and then sure enough, she's still a little SOB and just, throws him under the bus one more time. And so I thought it was funny. I think the Exocomp was a pretty weird. I mean, that's what the show does, though. It pulls out these kind of weird, why would they ever was in one episode of TNG and it wasn't really a thing, and yet there it is. There's the Exocomp as an officer. But I'm waiting for them to, and mark my words, they'll do it. I guarantee it. Is we're going to see a Tribble as a Starfleet officer.
Ooh, or a Horda.
Or a Horda.
I don't know.
There you go.
We tried to eat tribbles in one of the shorts, so I don't know that they're sentient enough to.
Well, I think maybe somebody will find out that they really are.
They'll uplift one.
It's Lower Decks. I don't expect to see it in Strange New Worlds. Of course,
I remember a Horda being
Strange New Worlds will retcon it to something like, I don't know. They'll make them fly or something. Who knows?
I remember a Horda being a captain of a ship in one of the Star Trek
Martin, yes,
the novels, yeah. One of the thousands of children from the original Horda is in Starfleet, and they have a comm badge welded to his back, and it does a translator thing so he can talk. Yeah,
that's a pretty long stretch.
But going back,
interesting concept.
Going back to the Tribbles, though, one of the most brilliant things in Picard was the attack Tribble. That was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was one of the Daystrom Easter eggs?
Yes.
Yeah.
The attack Tribble.
Well, the Mirror Universe Tribble has teeth.
Right.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
Black and red.
Black and red.
That was never in anything. That was just something that a toy manufacturer created.
No, it was on what's his name's desk.
It was
Lorca's
on Lorca's desk.
Yeah. Lorca had one in a cage on his desk.
Right.
Did it have a
block out a lot of? I block out a lot of. It's like
teeth.
Disco is more worthwhile than you think. Like,
yes,
I like Jason Isaacs in it. I like
the first 2 seasons are worth watching.
I loved Rainn Wilson. I would take Rainn Wilson as Harry Wilson all day, every day.
We can talk about that. We're way over the hour, but we'll talk about
we're going to run long tonight, guys, just FYI. If
Rainn Wilson was a great Harry Mudd.
Yes.
He was.
Yes.
He was.
I thought, and I wish they had. I could see a whole show, a Harry Mudd show.
I would have liked it better still.
I would like a Harry Mudd show.
I liked him better as Harry Mudd than the original Harry Mudd. The original Harry Mudd I thought was too sleazy.
Well, it's like this one's definitely more conniving, which fits Rain's kind of acting style. If you guys knew him from The Office, he was kind of that more like sneaky, but and they even brought in Stella, which I thought was hysterical. How he got married to Stella. Even way back then, he didn't want to be married to Stella.
Yeah.
So, no, I thought so. There were Discovery. Like I said, the first 2 seasons have merit. I just think after that, don't bother.
Yeah, it went down.
They go to the future. Just call it the end of the series. That's it. Nothing happens after that.
If it makes anybody feel any better, I have Discovery seasons 3 and 4 on my shelf just to see what people will pick. And if they pick that, I know that they're not worthy enough to be around me.
You have chosen poorly.
You have chosen
to choose from the discs to see if you'll be my friend.
Yes.
You chose poorly.
Wisely.
Oh my God. Maybe we shouldn't go long. I think we're already spiraling. We're spiraling down like
but it's Star Trek. We love it. 57 years.
Was the plan to name the worst as well, or is that for another show?
Ooh.
Oh, we could do worse. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Your idea. You go first.
Oh, I read it actually one of the descriptions, but worst
it's going to be Spock's brain.
I think the worst episode. The original series has too much charm for me. I think the worst was they're both Voyager episodes. It's the one where Janeway and Paris turn into a lizard.
Threshold.
Yeah.
And then the other was Tuvok landing on the planet that Mork from Ork came from, and all the people age backwards, and they're little children. And apparently they're dying, and that's where they go when they die.
And that one's called Innocence.
Yeah.
And that's when I stopped watching Voyager.
Tuvix was pretty bad.
Tuvix was bad. I still think the worst one, because it was that one where they go back in time to the Earth of the 1990s. Future's End. No. Here's all right. Here's why it's so bad. First of all, Ed Begley Jr. is the bad guy.
Yeah, Ed Begley Jr.
That right there should end the conversation. But the worst part of it is they're back in time in the 1990s, but they're back at Earth, which is where they're trying to get since the beginning of the damn series. Right. Not one person, not one mentions, why don't we just do the slingshot maneuver
around the sun and be where we need to be?
And we're home.
We're in the right solar system.
And, I didn't want them to, I just wanted somebody to mention it because it's canon. It is so much canon. It's in 2 TOS episodes.
And they could have dealt with it in one line. They could have said, well, we can't do that because of this.
Of course. But I just wanted it mentioned. And I'm like, people are
absolutely
idiots.
Correct.
So, no, we have to fix
I don't say that often, Rizzo, but you are absolutely correct.
I know. And to me, that's the worst Voyager episode, only for that one flub.
Yeah. Although Threshold is pretty bad.
I
like the episode because Sarah Silverman is in it. I thought she was awesome.
She annoys me. So
I don't like the Deep Space Nine episode called "Move Along Home" because that's all that
season one. Season one. They're trying to. They're finding their footing. It is a bad one. I agree. That's not a great, not a shining moment. But DS9 has so many other great ones that it overshadows. But again, that's kind of going back to what I'm saying. When you have 26, 27 episodes a season, you can afford to have some stinkers in there.
I mean,
you got 10. You can't afford to have a musical episode.
When you're talking about from TOS all the way up to Enterprise, 20 of the episodes will be good to great. And then the other 6 are mediocre to really, really bad. And that's what I loved about the old format of TV. Nowadays, we got, I guess, the first 2 seasons of Discovery had like 15, 16 episodes, and 90, and most of them were good. But that's the problem I had with Picard seasons 1 and 2. 10 episodes, and there wasn't really any story.
The problem with Picard was,
other than the crying?
Well, season 2 especially, they threw the Federation under the bus.
Well, they did that. They did that hard in season 1.
Yes. They threw Melinda Snodgrass under the bus.
The whole thing was bad. It didn't fit Finn's thing at all. That was what
Yeah,
that's one of the things I brought up in my Picard roundtable was, and I was asking people because one guy said, "Oh, I really like season 1." I'm like, "Okay, why? Did you have a problem? Did you not have a problem with this? Did you not have a problem with the fact that the Federation
even the existence of Section 31 implies that there is a seedy underbelly, that the Federation has a bunch of guys who have to do things a certain way to make it work, but to bring that to the forefront and make it the core of the Federation, that was just wrong.
To me, it was like, okay, how many times have we seen throughout all the series that our hero ship defeats the bad guy ship and then offers to help them, whatever it be. You know what I'm saying? They always help the enemy after they've won. So here we have the Romulans, and they're going to all die as a race, but the Federation goes, yeah, let them die.
Yeah, I don't know. Archer took that, from the...
But I always go back to the whole supernova, Romulus and stuff. They're an interstellar empire. They're not
one single planet.
We're not one planet. A supernova is not going to take them all out.
No, and you're right. But then of course we have the other plot where we had a whole episode basically saying that this is wrong. We're not going to make a race of somewhat sentient beings and then make them slaves. Then you do. Yeah, and then you go ahead and do exactly that.
Yeah. And then get upset when they revolt.
Yeah. Well, that was this other force controlling them that caused them to revolt. But
sure,
the stupidity of the storyline was just like, and apparently from what Dave Blast told me, that was all coming from Patrick Stewart, and I forgot who else he said, that they knew they were going to write this, and they knew that a lot of people weren't going to like it, and they didn't care.
Because they wanted.
I want some respect for Patrick Stewart on that one, because I'm like, so you're with my franchise to do whatever crap that you decided you wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know what we haven't touched on?
What haven't we touched on?
Please enlighten us.
JJ Trek.
But I don't know what you're talking about, Mary Beth.
My supper's calling for me. I go.
I'm sorry, my internet connection seems to be.
Yeah, I mean, JJ Trek is JJ Trek. I mean, we should, I suppose.
It had its moments.
Well, I mean, I still think, I will always say this, and this is one thing I've said this in my roundtables. I think the casting was brilliant. I think they did a good job of brilliant. I think most people agree the casting was spot on. I think they did a really good job, especially with Carl Urban as McCoy. I think he was.
I think overall the visuals are stunning.
Well, except for the Apple Store, and I hated the Enterprise
and the lens flare.
The Enterprise was awful.
Well, yes, the proportions are wrong, but overall the effects, the way it was shot, minus the lens flares, was pretty spectacular.
If it weren't for JJ Trek, I wouldn't have gotten an entire lecture on by Doug Drexler about how warp bubbles work.
the thing with the JJ Trek is the logic wasn't there, and that's what really attracted me to Star Trek in the first place. Is it made sense? It was logical, but hey, everybody must have died because we're going to put the damn cadet as first officer.
Yeah. He's promoted immediately.
I think they tripped and fell.
But Star Trek loves to do that. They like to promote people who being promoted.
It was they do that.
I think they tripped and stumbled with Kirk Spock McCoy. Kirk Spock McCoy is one character. Ego, superego, and id. All individually, all together, they make one very capable command team. And the JJ movies, never got that right.
Yeah, because Spock needed a girlfriend. Although we've continued with that. Stranger Worlds picked that up.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's another thing I'm not thrilled about, the whole Spock.
I'm okay with that. I think Spock needs to have a little fun.
Phil, you like the musical episode, so just stop.
I actually don't like the treatment.
I just want Spock to get the girl.
I don't like girl. I don't like the treatment of Spock like he's some.
He's like the butt of a lot of jokes.
Yeah, and the fact that he's special, I guess.
Well, and have they actually said that he's the first Vulcan that made it through Starfleet? Starfleet Academy?
They haven't said anything like that, but we know
that's the legend. I mean, he was the first Vulcan to make it through Starfleet because none of the rest of them could be troubled to interact with the
He's
Federation.
the only one that applied. Let's put it
He's
that
the
way.
one that applied, yeah.
Right, but the rest are too
But
arrogant. to
humans
think
smell so bad.
But
Yeah.
the actual one character in Strange New Worlds that bothers me the most is Chapel. I love the character. Don't make it Chapel.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
it
agree
could
with
have been
Donovan
anybody.
Yeah,
right there,
she's not
Bruce.
Chet, but
I
none of them
love
are.
Jess Bush. I think she's I like the character,
Like,
but it's not our Chapel.
it's not. Like we have clear
Doesn't
idea
fit.
of who Chapel, Uhura, Scotty now because we've introduced him.
And
We know
Benga.
who now Mabenga, that was a blank slate. We did not
No, it
know.
wasn't.
Agree. It doesn't. The timeline's not matching up with him.
No, the timeline
No.
is not matching up for him. But it doesn't matter. I'm enjoying Babs's portrayal of Mabenga.
Yes.
I'm enjoying
I
Mabenga.
do, but they could have made it.
I think there's serious stuff going to happen with Mabenga down the road.
I don't
really
think your
serious
doctor
stuff.
should be your best fighter, but hey, what do I know?
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, they've kind of certainly, but then the other thing with his daughter keeping her in the transporter, and I don't know where they were going with that storyline until
Ethically questionable
till the,
for a doctor.
till the
Well, he's the Shepherd book. He's got the mysterious past that enables him
Yeah.
to do things.
Yeah,
that you
he's
wouldn't
kinda
expect
Shepherd,
a doctor
yeah.
to
no
do.
Shepherd book.
But Shep was
He's
very
no Shepherd book.
Oh, he's no
Shep
Shepherd
was
book,
a
but that's what
bastard.
they're going for.
So, all right. I don't know what else. We
I
were
think
talking
he's
about
on the
bad
way out.
episodes.
bad episodes. So
I
many
don't know.
strange
TNG
episodes.
had some bad
of
ones.
Honor.
Is that
Code
the
of
one?
Honor-
Is that
Sub
the
Rosa.
racist one?
Sub
Bruce?
Rosa is probably the worst TNG
Was
episode.
Code of Honor the racist one?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the
That-
no
that the
vaccine.
cast themselves
No
will not speak
Lieutenant
up?
Yaw and no vaccine.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
That was bad.
I still
Although
think Sub
Sub
Rosa
Rosa
is worse.
is
In
up there,
fact,
yeah.
in fact, Frakes said recently that it's the one Star Trek episode that they should take out of streaming.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, just remove it completely.
Oh,
Like,
why?
it-
Because they
Alright.
felt it was too racist.
Yep, even at the time. Because they talked about it way back when.
They talked about it as they were filming it. We should not be
Yep.
filming this. This is racist.
And Sub Rosa was a poor rehash of the Anne Rice
It
novels.
was just bad.
Don't
It-
talk
it-
about the
it-
candle love like that.
It was just it was like it was.
Candle love.
Read The Witching Hour from Anne Rice. It's the same goddamn story. Pardon my language.
I don't need to. I watched Sub Rosa, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's it.
What's this?
So why would I want to torture myself again?
How about the empath? What do people think about the empath?
She
Not
didn't
my
speak.
favorite.
The entire
It-
episode, she didn't speak.
Didn't
She's
like
never-
it.
It's not
Didn't
terrible,
like it.
but it's not good.
Is that the one they filmed it completely in the black room?
Yeah,
there's
it was.
nothing-
Yes.
It was done Lost in Space style.
Yep.
It was like the
Which was a big,
whenever
huge
you were on
budget
an alien
thing.
ship and Lost in Space. It was always
Big
it
black
was,
room.
It was always black background with just a few props.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We used to. Yeah. So that's how they did that one. I never cared for that episode. I know what they were trying to say, but again, as a kid, I always relate to these shows from the 10-year-old me.
Yeah, if the 10-year-old me was bored.
The 10-year-old me didn't like that because there was boring.
Can you remember the 10-year-old you?
He
Aren't
didn't
you
agree
the
with anybody
10-year-old
either.
you
I do. I
now?
was building model rockets and watching Star Trek, and then Star Wars happened, and it was like losing my virginity.
On that note,
It was that kind of impact on your life. Is what my point.
Mental note: don't sit next to Rizzo in Star Wars.
Nope.
No wonder he likes Patrick Reed Johnson so much.
I don't know. I related to his film.
He related to his film. We all did.
It was a good
Yep.
film.
That
So,
one tugged on the heart.
so come on, you guys are all roughly the same age, with the exception of Fez. You know what it was like. Well, I'm saying when that movie dropped,
Well,
When Star Wars
you know.
hit, yeah,
Yeah.
that was a big one.
it was a
Yeah.
It
big.
was a big deal. Yeah, nothing.
It was the focus of our lives for a decade at least.
Yep.
Back in the day,
Negative 12 years.
the saying was, to be a fan is a sad and lonely thing. And after Star Wars and this iteration of the proliferation of Star Trek, everyone's a fan now. It is no longer a sad and lonely existence to be a science fiction fan.
Yep.
We are living
Well,
in
Pop
the
culture nerddom
science
from
Culture
world
as a
we always
whole.
wanted to live in.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you wander around Comic-Con or a place like that, and you will see kindred souls.
Well, it's true. It's cool. It's cool to be a nerd these days. It's become. It's not a stigma like it was when we were kids.
You guys are nerds?
Big time.
Yes. Are you scared of us now?
A little.
This from the man who can recite Star Trek verbatim better than any
anybody I know.
Yeah.
Nerd.
Fez, if anybody's the nerdiest of any of us, I think
it'd be you. Yeah, I think.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think you do. All right, guys. It's 20 after. I think we've beaten this horse to death.
Here's to the next 57 years.
Yeah, let's
hear.
Here's to the next 57. Long may it live.
Here's to everybody.
Long
to
may it entertain us.
We'll keep watching it, even if they keep making it bad.
Yes.
Watching it.
And they know that. So it's shooting nerds in a barrel.
Yeah, but I won't rewatch it. So.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's apparently what they want. They want the rewatch. I'll rewatch Lower Decks, which is airing this week, right?
Yep, on
Friday.
Thursday, tomorrow.
So it means next week we'll have 3 minutes on Ahsoka and 3 minutes on Lower Decks.
2 episodes, guys.
We will do that.
True, 2 episodes.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us for this Star Trek celebration. Since I know this is a pale comparison, so I'm sure what Paramount's going to put on for Saturday. But
yeah, but at least
don't watch it. Support SAG and the Writers Guild.
SAG.
Don't watch that Star Trek propaganda, that Paramount propaganda. So, all right,
pay the writers, pay the actors.
Exactly.
Pay the writers, pay the actors.
So we get better stuff.
Yep.
Hey, everybody.
We'll see you next week with what are we doing? Oh, we're
Guilty Pleasures.
Guilty Pleasures, right? Guilty Pleasures of what you bad movies.
Star Trek on Roy's show Friday.
Yep, and they're going to do Star Trek, so you can get this all over again with Roy. Probably better organized than our arguing, but
but we've got heart.
Yes,
faith. We have faith.
Faith in heart.
Exactly.
So it's been a long road.
The first,
way, I still like that opening. I'm one of the people that likes the opening of Enterprise.
Nah, Firefly did it better.
Firefly did it well. Firefly is a great show. We've done Firefly, but
say good night, Gracie.
All right,
good night, Gracie.
Rambling. We're rambling. Stop talking. Good night, folks. We'll see you next week.
Good night, everyone.
I gotta
Later.
Where's the end button? Stop it.
Please stop.